Hello everyone, welcome back to the series of tutorials on Python programming. I am Deepak Nial, and in this tutorial I am going to talk about one very important thing, that is reading and writing on files. This topic is called file handling in Python or other programming languages. So while working on real life projects, you will come across various text file, CSV, JSON or other kind of files. So it is of utmost importance to learn the way to read from or write over files. So there are some easy methods to read a file. So one of the method is using pandas. We will learn about this thing later when we talk about data pre-processing part or reading and writing files in an easy way. So when we talk about pandas, we basically import this using import pandas, and we use this pd as shorthand. So we can write import pandas as pd, and then you can use pd and its method to read the file. So basically we are reading a CSV file, and then you can pass a file path. This method will help you to read this file, and everything will be stored in a data frame. So basically it will be a thing like a table. So you will have multiple rows and columns, whatever you have in CSV file. So we'll discuss all these things later, what a CSV file is, what a JSON file is, right? But as of now, we are just going to talk about a text file, which is most basic format. So what we are going to do, we are going to divide this whole tutorial into various parts and learn how to do all these things. So first thing is read a file. Second, writing over a file. Third thing that I will discuss with you is appending to a file. So there is basically a difference between write and append. In write, suppose you have a file, and we can call this file, and this is the text you have in file. So when you write, you actually overwrite this thing, and again when you start writing over this file, you will start from here, right? So all this content will be overwritten. But in case of append, you basically have all these content. This content will be copied here first, and then you will start writing from here. So in case of append, you have previous text on the file, but in case of write, the text is overwritten. Clear? So basically we are going to discuss three things: reading, writing, appending, and then we'll talk about some questions so that we can understand these things in more efficient way. So first thing will be copy text from one file to other. Second thing that we'll discuss here, read text from two files and write to another new file. Third thing, I will be telling you swap the content of two file, right? So basically we have three basic thing and three that are over this. So let's talk about first thing. So first thing is reading a file in Python. So basically when we are talking about reading a file in Python, we have a method called open, and this function will return a file handler, right? So sometime you can say that this is a pointer. We basically don't call this a pointer, it's called file handler, but you can consider it as a pointer, something pointing to that file, right? So its prototype is open, then file name, and then we have a mode here. So this thing is very important. So whether you are writing a file, reading a file, or appending a file, you basically need a mode here, right? So file name is common in all three cases. It will always be there, but mode keeps on changing. So first mode is R, and this is used for reading only, and this one is default, right? Second one is W, and this is used for only writing. So if you want to only read the file, you have to use R mode. If you want to only write the file, you have to use W mode. So in case of W, an existing file with same name will be erased. So make sure that whenever you really want to perform this operation and erase any file which exists before. Otherwise, if you have any previous file and you are using this mode, that file will be overridden. So use this operation very carefully. Another is R plus. In case of R plus, you can do reading as well as writing. So both these things can be done in this mode, right? So these are three modes. There are some other modes. One is A, which is called append. So in this case, previous file will not be overwritten and it will only append the text to previous file. There is another mode B. This open file in binary mode. So data is read and written in the form of byte objects. So basically we use binary mode when we have files like audio, video, image, etc. So basically we are saying that this mode will be used when we have non-text files, right? So there are a lot of modes. So now go back to reading files using Python. So we'll use open method to open the file in one of the mode, and when we have opened a file, it basically returns a file handler. So let us suppose we are using R mode. So you have to write like this. Also put inverted comma here. And when you open a file, you can give it a name, maybe file or F1 or F2 and any other name that you like. After this, you can use this file handler to read the file. So there are two methods basically. One is file dot read and another one is file dot readlines. So what is the difference between these two? This is going to read whole file as string, right? So file dot read will be some data which will be of string form, and the content that read lines will read, it will have a list and each element will be a line from the file. Don't worry if you are having any problem in understanding this, because we'll soon implement all these things, right? So here we have opened a file and then read these files using these two functions. You can use any one of them. But here is one thing. Here we are using file equal to open file name and then read mode. But it's a good practice to use with keyword when dealing with file objects. And there is an advantage of that it opens file properly and then closes it when file finishes its execution, right? So if there is an exception raised at some point, even after that file will be closed successfully. So it's a very good practice. And how do we use that? So you have to write something like this with open and then file name and read something like this. And after that you have to write as file. So you have file handler. It's a single line. There's a lack of space here, so I am writing it here. And when you have a file, you can use this file handler to read the content of this file. In this case, you don't need to use a close function, but in above case here, when you are opening file in this way, you need to use a method called file.close. And after this statement, file is closed. Clear? You have one more method, file.closed, and it basically returns true or false. It just check whether file is closed or not. If you run this method after this thing, file.closed, it will return true because it automatically closes the file, right? So this was about reading file using Python. Similarly, there are methods for writing files. So you already have file handler, but we need to open the file in a writing mode. So you can use W, and if you want to use with, so you have to write with open as file, and then you can use file dot write and then some text here, whatever you want to write. Maybe I want to write Python, so you have to use something like this, right? So you have to keep in mind, if you are using this thing without with, then you have to use the method file dot close. But in this case we don't need this because we are using with. Clear? So this was about writing files. Now third thing is appending content to file. So what you have to do, you have to again use the open method, give a file name, and then use a here as file. You can write any name here and use with it, and then you can write file dot write. And now if you write Java, so you already have written Python to the file. Now you're writing Java. So basically after this operation, it will have Python and Java. So you can try all these things. I will surely create a program for these so that we can understand all these things easily. Alright, but I think this lecture is enough. In the next lecture, I will talk about these three things: copy text from one file to another, then read text from two files and write to another new file, and third, swap the content of two files. So basically I can break these three things in three different lectures so that it's easier for us to understand one thing in one lecture, right? Okay, so now we'll wind up this lecture. It's enough content for this tutorial. If you have any query or doubt, you can always write your queries in the comments and I will try to respond back as soon as possible. I hope you like the content. Okay, so if you like the content, please like the video, share it with your friends and subscribe the channel. Thank you so much.